Looks like we have a quorum. Three. So I am going to call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock p.m. John, can you do, or well, should we give Commissioner Colbert a few more minutes because of the roll call? Or can you add him when he comes in?
We can add him, but then we can give it a few minutes just to see
Okay.
if he's going to join
Okay, so I rescind my calling the meeting to order.
to be on the safe side.
Okay.
Do you want to text and see if he's available?
I can do that.
Okay. We can proceed and we can just mark him late. I think that's the best way. Let's get started.
So I will call this meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. John, can you do a roll call?
Yes. President Franklin,
Here.
Commissioner Duckett,
Here.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Here.
Commissioner Lott,
Here.
Town Administrator Kyle Snyder,
Here.
Police Chief David Burks,
Here.
Public Works Director Darnell Bond,
Here.
Town Clerk John Hodgson here. Commissioner Colbert is absent as of right now.
If we can stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. If we can review the agenda, John, if you can just kind of go over it, you can summarize the report section so you don't have to read it all out. In case there's any changes or additions that need to be made.
Commissioner Colbert has joined the meeting,
Okay.
just to make you all aware.
Okay.
Are there any changes or additions to the agenda that you all want to make?
So just to kind of review, we have added, we probably should review this so that the residents on here understand what we're doing. We've added a consent agenda that will make the meeting a little shorter by allowing us to approve minutes and department reports all in one go. Then we have 2 proclamations. Then we have the committee reports and the commissioner reports. As far as business, we have economic development firm presentations. They are not here. They were unable to come. So can we strike them now or should we vote
You
to?
can strike them now. You can strike them now, because what you'll do is you'll vote on the approved agenda when you're ready to go. So you'll strike that now.
So we'll strike the economic development firms. Then we have resolution 2022-12, setting service fees, resolution 2022-13, annexation legal services, resolution 2022-14, authorized body camera purchase, resolution 2022-15, park mobile. Then we have policies for events, overtime and drug testing, citations and proclamations, facade improvement / business improvement grant awards. Then we have new contract timeline. Then we have branding and horse show update, and then we have cruising on Main Street event application. Then we have administrative updates, which is going to include 2 items that came up after the agenda was sort of tentatively approved by the board. And those are going to be the Downtown Upper Marlboro Beautification Plan and the CSA 23 Leadership Event Support Request. Then we'll move on to public comment, preliminary approval of the next meeting agenda, and adjournment. Are there any other changes to the agenda that anyone would like to make?
Just one quick change. I do have, as I had to leave in the middle of the work session a couple of weeks ago, I do have some comments that I'd just like to read for the record at the end of the meeting. I believe probably around I think the administrative piece would probably be the good place for that, but
Yes.
Okay, so we'll add that to administrative updates.
That's correct. And then is Park Mobile getting tabled?
I think Park Mobile is getting tabled, but I think Kyle wanted to talk to us about it. So is that correct, Kyle?
Yeah, that's correct. Unless the board wishes, it doesn't have to get removed from the agenda. I can provide an overview, answer questions, and then the board can table the actual vote.
So unless everyone wants to just strike it and talk about it later, we'll table it after Kyle gives us some updates. Okay.
I do have one in terms of tabling, just a question. So for the body camera purchases, I have some questions. And so since our last meeting was a breeze, in terms of when this came up, it was about a 3-hour meeting. It's slated for a board vote, but I do have some questions about that.
Right. So we'll, when it comes up, we'll be able to get the information that they want to provide to us and ask our questions.
So at that time, so is it still going to be slated as a board vote? That's probably my question.
Yes. And a lot of times these contracts need to be moved as quickly as we can because of the cost constantly increasing.
Well, I just wanted to know about the tabling part. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, if we get to it and the board feels they want to table it, then that's a vote. That's also a vote that can be made. Right. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of the economic development firm presentations and the addition of Commissioner Colbert's comments to the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, John's going to call the vote.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Colbert,
aye.
Commissioner Duckett,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have an approved agenda.
Thank you. And so we will move on to our consent agenda. And I am asking if there is any discussion regarding the consent agenda. Here, no discussion. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, John, if you can call the vote. Thank you.
Commissioner Colbert,
Aye.
Commissioner Duckett,
Aye.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. All right, so we will move on to our 2 proclamations. With regard to the Juneteenth proclamation, there is some discussion. There were comments. Oh, sorry, Pride proclamation first. Is there a motion to approve this proclamation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
John, can you call the vote?
Commissioner Colbert,
Aye.
Commissioner Duckett,
Nay.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
I thought we were going to discuss the, don't look at me like that, Tom. I thought we were going to discuss the email that was sent about how we wanted to update the Juneteenth.
Yes, that's next. I thought it was first, but it's just the
Oh,
next.
okay, because that's what I heard you say. Okay. Sorry.
Sorry, we're just approving them one at a time.
Okay, no. I thought I heard you say the Juneteenth, so I apologize.
Yeah, I messed up. I got ahead of
No
myself.
problem, no problem.
Do you want to vote or do you want to abstain?
I'm gonna abstain.
Right, so that, you got that, John?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to the Juneteenth proclamation. In your packet is the additions that Commissioner Duckett put together regarding the history of Juneteenth. And the request is also to strike the second paragraph, I think, of this. I don't know.
Yes.
The one about President Abraham Lincoln?
Do you want clarification on it?
Yeah.
Okay, so after reviewing it, yes. I did not think that it spoke to the essence of Juneteenth in the second paragraph because it is a little, it is outside of what Juneteenth is actually all about. So I was asking to add in this additional verbiage here in replacement of the third, well, technically the first one is not a paragraph, but the third
Okay. I see.
sentence, whereas the town of Upper Marlboro recognizes the history of racism. So that particular line item, that particular paragraph, and replaced with this content here, and then moving on with the ending of the proclamation, which is being recognized by the town of Upper Marlboro.
Is there any discussion?
For me, I would actually be in favor of keeping both pieces of language. I think Commissioner Duckett, the language you provided definitely adds some context and history to the statement. But I also think it is important to recognize a part of that history that was born out of why Juneteenth even was a day or is a holiday. And I think, even there's some unfortunate reality here, but even having, the courthouse, the county courthouse being a part of our town, there is some link to some of that language still being in there. So I'm in favor of including all of the language that Commissioner Duckett added into the current statement.
Is there any other?
So can I clarify? So,
Mhm.
because I'm just not sure. So in addition, so you want to keep the language. So just to make sure I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Colbert. So you want to keep the statement as is and then add in the additional language? Is that what you were saying?
Correct.
And where would you suggest that sentence be?
I mean, I think it could follow the language right there above the therefore. I think that block of language that you put would fall right in there. I know that makes it a lengthier proclamation, but I think it gives kind of due context all around for this proclamation.
I think it would go better underneath the second paragraph. That's just my stylistic opinion, but it doesn't matter where you guys want to put it. But I do think this is well researched and good information. That's my 2 cents. Commissioner Lott, Commissioner Hanchett, do you have anything to add to the discussion?
I like Commissioner Colbert's suggestion, and I don't think it hurts it where you put it. I just think it's a great addition. Thank you.
Commissioner Duckett, is it important to you where it's located?
No, I just wanted to hear his feedback.
Okay.
Since he made the comment.
I was just gonna say, because the motion, so the motion should be, because there's two, so I'm not gonna suggest the motion like I normally do, because there's two different motions, I think, that are wanting to be made. So the motion would either be to approve the proclamation with the changes suggested in Commissioner Duckett's memorandum, or to approve, or the motion would be to approve the proclamation with the addition of the items that Commissioner Duckett provided, but no deletions. So those are the two options for motions, if someone would like to put one on the floor.
Motion to approve the Juneteenth proclamation, the town of Upper Marlboro, with the additions stated therein in the memorandum. In addition to the verbiage stated in the memorandum.
So
Is that
I'm gonna see if I'm gonna try to clarify and make sure the motion is, so the motion is to insert the verbiage Commissioner Duckett prepared as per the memorandum. There are three whereases, to include those in the proclamation and approve it as it is, with those additions. Correct?
correct?
Is there a second?
Second.
John, can you call the vote?
Sure will. Mr. Cowart,
Aye.
Commissioner Duckett,
Aye.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the committee reports, and just so everyone understands, we alphabetized them. It's been bothering me for a little while. So Commissioner Duckett, you will be up first unless someone from the Arts Council is here to present.
Thank you. And Kyle, you may have to add additional to this if you have it. I know that the Arts Committee is working on their, my gosh, it just slipped my mind. But the Arts Committee is working on some information for the town, as well as just to announce that they have, they're establishing a date for the Happy Leaf Festival. So that is where the conversation is right now. So planning is beginning on that, and the expectation is that it will take place in September. I don't see that the focus right now is not on much of anything else. I haven't heard much on the mural, unless Kyle has some additional information to add to that. Feel free.
Sure. Yes, Commissioner, so that in the Happy Leaf Arts Festival is the 25th of September, Sunday, the 25th, rain or shine. And then for the mural, the grant funding was released. The attorney reviewed the property owner mural agreement and the final artist agreement. We're sending that over to the property owner with the draft of the mural. And once we get that signed off, we can schedule it for install, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's all we have.
Okay. Shall we head over to Chief, or unless someone from CERT is here?
Yes, so for the month of June, the total volunteer hours, meeting hours, and all of that was 98 hours for the CERT team, and they met on the second Saturday of June, which was June 11th. So they've been pretty busy with volunteering and doing training and everything that like. That's it.
Thank you. So now we're to the Events Committee, Commissioner Lott. I don't see anyone.
Okay, yes, ma'am. So, just 1 second, please. So I'd like to say that we had a very pleasant meeting yesterday. in-person meeting. And we discussed a schedule for starting on Friday, December 2nd. Just 1 second, please. So, sorry about that. Friday, December 2nd, we're gonna start the Christmas kickoff with a Christmas tree lighting. And we're gonna finish up on Sunday, the 4th. And we kind of went through some of the things we want to see happen as far as events. We talked about holiday ornaments, decorating the tree, having John represent Santa Claus and come through on the fire truck. We talked about inviting all of the churches to participate with the singing of Christmas songs. And we also talked about having a breakfast with Santa. And some, and of course, we talked about the food trucks and the times that we want to have the events. And we don't have all the details narrowed down, but we are working on it and it's forthcoming.
Okay. So thank you. Sorry. Well, and we'll go to Commissioner Hanchett for the Green Team.
Good evening, everyone. The Green Team is doing great. Everything is flourishing. We added some better protection from, I guess we have a family of groundhogs that are trying to get in there. We added a picnic table. I don't remember if I mentioned that last month from funding that one of the members got from their place of employment. Tomatoes are taking off and everyone's working really well together. As Stacy would say, teamwork makes dream work. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anyone from Greenwell unless, yeah. Greenwell's been kind of keeping us updated about the election, but they don't have a lot of active lobbying they can do while we're in this, this moment, I think. Did you have anything else from them, Kyle?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right, so then we will get to the Historical Committee. Do we have someone from? Yes, Patty Calcott is here.
So we had a meeting on July 16th, another trying to plan. And at that time, we realized that it's imperative that we start working with the town so that we know what we're doing, because we can't really do any plans without knowing what we are responsible for as opposed to what the town is responsible for and what the end result is going to be. I sent an email out to President Franklin, and she has responded with asking me to do some outreach to the historical committees for each one of the counties. And I did send out an email to them with an invite and asked them if they could give me maybe a rough count on what they anticipate sending. I'm assuming most of them will be just responding with dignitaries as opposed to getting a count of people who will attend. But I will be asking them to share the event with each of their different counties so that everyone from each of those counties is aware of the event. And we do plan on meeting again on the third Saturday in August. But at that point, I don't know how much planning is going to be being able to be done without knowing all the logistics. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for reaching out to them. And we are internally working up our end of things, and we will probably ask to have a meeting earlier. So you'll be hearing from us on that. Okay, and so now we'll move on to sustainable communities. I'm guessing Linda will be taking that, Linda Penoyer. I think you have to upgrade her phone because I think that's how she talks. John. Or Commissioner Colbert, you can, oh, here she is. Okay.
Yes. Yes, on June 20th or July 20th, we met with President Franklin and Commissioner Colbert regarding the policies and bylaw changes that are suggested for sustainable communities. At that time, we went over a number of things that we had issues with. And we also agreed to have a meeting with the DHCD and Sustainable Community Work Group and the town, President Franklin and Commissioner Colbert, and I'm still waiting for that meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Colbert and I did meet with the HCD, and I think he spoke with you about that. So we'll have further discussions. If we can move on to commissioner reports. I will say that this month I was saddened by the weather because I think we would have had better turnout at our business mixer. Our intern and I were going out to deliver flyers, letting everyone know. Commissioner Hanchett turned up at town hall, so 3 of us all wound up going out and delivering flyers to the businesses. They were excited and it poured, so we had to cancel it to the next weekend, so we didn't have a great turnout, but it was a nice event, and hopefully we can just try to find a way to meet with our businesses more regularly. We also had a community conversation over in Marlboro Town. We hallooed down some people and they came over and talked to us. I have also been meeting, Town Administrator Snyder and I have been meeting with the county to just kind of see where they're at in their branding process, so that we're still talking as we go forward, just so we don't wind up in 2 different directions that don't match. And then I also attended the CERT meeting this month. I am trying to move around to each of the committees and make sure that I am attending every committee's meeting at some point, a couple of times in the year. Commissioner Colbert, do you want to give your report next?
Sure. A lot of it's going to be repeat. Attended the community conversations meeting over in Marlboro Town. We eventually had a good turnout there and had some good conversation with residents in that area. Looking forward to doing more of those in different parts of town, and we'll just have to work to
Yeah.
get our advertisement out there a little bit more so that we can have more participation by town residents. And then also the same thing with the business mixer. Again, understanding, it was pushed back because of the weather. So we'll just have to think through a little bit more. How can we reach out more to businesses, make sure that they're involved constituents as well. So I'm looking forward to both of those events continuing and becoming more robust.
Thank you. Commissioner Duckett?
Yes, thank you. Attended, of course, the events conversation surrounding Christmas, the 3-day Christmas extravaganza that we're planning. So in addition to that, I also wanted to, because I see that she's on today, I believe that is Miss Evelyn. I wanted to just really say thank you for all of the hard work that she's done with the sustainable communities. She's definitely been valuable to this town, and she's put in a lot of work into us being as successful as we are. So I just really want to give her kudos. I know that she has resigned and she's no longer leading this, but I'm sure that we will be able to continue to move forward. I know that our past mayor, Linda Penoria, may be taking that seat and that lead on that. So I expect to see great things come from that. But I really want to just say thank you, Ms. Evelyn Stevens, for all of your hard work and your dedication to our town. And we're sad to see you go. And we hope that, you know, that you'll find wherever you're moving to and whatever is going on in your life, that you'll find much success in doing that as well. And they will be very, very blessed to have you. So thank you so much for your time and your diligence to the town. We appreciate it. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Hanchett.
Good evening, everyone. I did attend the holiday event. I did make a recommendation and I wanted to go on the record to say that I think it should be changed from Christmas to holiday. I'm not going to spend any time on that. I also went to the business mixer, and as Sarah mentioned, that we went and passed out flyers, and I want to say kudos to Savannah for doing a great job. Also, I went to the community conversation with Chief, Mayor, Kyle, Monica, Charles, and myself, and that was good. It was a nice small gathering, but it was a good conversation. I also want to say thank you to Evelyn Stevens for her tireless work that she did for the town. Thank you. I also want to thank the multiple town residents that have reached out on our comment page. Thank you for all your great comments, and we really appreciate it. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lott.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I would just like to say, reiterate that I am working on the events committee, and I've been attending the meetings on the, I believe it's the first Thursday of the month. And we did go over some Christmas, the Christmas on Main Street. We went over some of the things that we would like to do. We don't have all of the pieces together, but it's coming together, and we had a pleasant meeting. And we'll be having, hopefully we'll have some more details next month. And I really don't understand why there's an opposition to changing the name to something else when the federal holiday is Christmas. And we plan to celebrate all, have different things that express the different religions. So I don't see that there's a reason to change the name from Christmas to anything else. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Evelyn, for your hard work. Sorry. Thank you so much for the hard work to the town. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yes, I agree with all the kudos to Evelyn. But her and I had, she knows I'm not going away because I showed up at her door. So, okay, so we are through that and we're gonna head on to business. I am just gonna let you guys know, right now it's 7:35. I'm gonna just kind of keep track of and make sure we kind of stay on time track as we have these conversations. All right, so we're going to start with Resolution 2022-12, setting service fees. Town Administrator Snyder, you want to take us through this?
Sure, absolutely, Mayor. So as this has been discussed the past couple meetings, and it was actually introduced at the Junetown meeting, and now is up for a board vote if the board chooses to go forward. So pretty much it's just updating the routine service fees the town has, the different things from copies to notaries. The big things that were changed, parking permits per the board's request at the last meeting. We did put in a quarterly parking pass for $100 for 3 months. That's about a $20 cost savings if I did the math off the top of my head right. We also put in the police report, accident report, $10. And the daily food truck permit was brought to $50 to come in compliance with county code. I think those are the main changes that were made, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions or discussions on this?
I didn't hear you. What was the food truck change?
It's now $50.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The county put a cap on the food truck fees, so.
Any other commissioner comments or questions? Okay, we do have one public comment, so let's take that. I see the timer didn't come to the meeting again, so I will set my timer on my watch.
Yeah, hi, Joe Erclay, Old Marlboro Pike. I noticed that there was an vendor event fee, I think it was called, in there, and I assume that's for Marlboro Day, but another event tries taking off like the Happy Leaf, that maybe they want to have a lower fee as they're growing. Or if you wanted to do any sort of stepped fee where like organizations in town are charged at a different rate than, organizations that are further out. So that was my only comment. Thanks.
Thank you.
I like to say that I think, this is Commissioner Lott, I think that's kind of like, excuse me, a good idea to have the people within the town pay one price and someone outside of the town pay more. Just an idea. Thank you.
I'm gonna try and take all the public comment and then have us discuss what we want to incorporate, if that's good, because there's one more public comment.
Patty Callicott?
So I don't know if this is specific to, July 3rd, I made a non-emergency call to the police. There were, at about 11:30 at night, somebody went on to our town parking lot in the very, very back corner. They came out, they came out with flashlights. They walked down the street. They were gone maybe 15 minutes and then maybe 20 minutes. And then they walked back to that very corner where they had parked their car. I thought that was extremely suspicious behavior. I never saw a police officer come by. I stayed out until about 1 o'clock in the morning. No police officers ever showed up, and I never got a follow-up on that. And I was wondering, considering that parking lot is not being patrolled at nights and on weekends, if the town would consider putting up a fence or gate so that the miscreants can't use that as an area to, one, go to the bathroom, and two, as a hidey hole for maybe miscreant behavior.
So I can't speak on the
Hold on a
fence.
second, Chief. I want to keep us on topic. So, sorry, I'm sorry. The public comment on that matter was more of a general public comment. And I was kind of waiting for it to tie in. We're going to need to make sure the public comment that we're giving is related to the item. Chief, I will give you a chance to speak on that, but let's try and get through this item first. Because we do have one public comment recommending a change. We have at least two commissioners, because I'm including myself, who think this is probably a good idea. So if we can identify the change so that then we can vote on this resolution. So for the event vendor fee, we have it set at $100 per event. The public recommended a lower fee for in-town businesses. Commissioner Lott liked the sound of that. I think it's also a good idea. Are we outnumbered, or like, should we talk about whether we should lower it, or is it just the two of us that think that?
I mean, I think this is Commissioner Duckett. I think that's reasonable that we should give some advantages to the residents in the town and make that a lower fee as opposed to someone outside of the town.
Commissioner Hancher here, and I'm in agreement.
Also in agreement.
Do we want to throw out a number so we can get this voted and we don't have to have it on our agenda again?
Sure, I agree too.
Do we want to say like 75 or should we go to like 80? Like how low do we want to go?
I think that we
75.
should keep the price and just increase it for the new, for the outsider. $100 is not bad.
Yeah, that's true.
And then make it maybe like 125 for the outside person. But I don't think we should change the number from 100. We just raised it up.
Well, that $100 number, where did, and maybe we've talked about this before, where did that $100 number come from? Have we looked at, what some other municipalities or size of municipalities are charging? Is that kind of commensurate with what they're charging vendors as well?
Right, it's coming up from $50. It was initially set back in 2018-19 in a resolution establishing the Marlboro Day date and setting a vendor fee. It was at 50. We've had a couple Marlboro Days since then, and the Happy Leaf were at 50 as well. So now I know the Arts Council is good with moving it to 100, and I think the Events Committee was good with moving it up to 100 as well. That's where that $100 came from. They doubled it.
I think there were concerns that higher than that, we might lose participation.
And the
What
board
about
members
50
for this-
for town residents, 75 for outsiders?
No, it was already
no.
50. It was
Yeah,
already
okay.
50. That's what
All
we're raising it. That's why I'm saying
Yeah.
we should
Raise
keep
what I
it
said
to
by
the number.
25.
We should keep it at the number that we finally got it to 100
Yeah.
after having it at 50 for so long. And I think that we should do like 125 for any outside people.
I agree with 125.
We
Thought
don't
that
want to
made
kill
sense.
them.
Yeah, exactly. I think any higher, you're gonna probably lose folks, especially
Right,
for the
but
size of the town. and the
25
amount
more
of-
than our folks, I don't think it's bad, but we can vote. What do you
Commissioner,
think?
sorry, I just want to ask Commissioner Duckett, because some of my feedback was from like Arts Council people, so you have a better tab on them. So
So,
do you
They
think
don't have
arts
a
vendors
problem.
would do?
right, yeah, they don't have a problem with $100, but I was saying if we're gonna increase it, I think if we do more than 125 for outsiders based on the size of the town currently, I think we will lose that participation. So
I agree.
I think at least we need to make it a marketable fee that in this day and time that someone would not think would be egregious. So
Yeah.
125 for me, that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah, most of our vendors, I think, are out of town. We do have some in-town vendors, so I kind of felt like that price point was maybe 100. But maybe what we kind of, depending on what everyone else thinks, we might, we could see if we like lose vendor participation if it's like, it's just hard to get that number. I don't know what.
Everything has gone up. So we gotta go up a little bit.
Yeah.
So we can have some money in the till for something that we want to use it for. Right,
And then-
'cause
and
where
then
does this
other
money
part-
go? Sorry, can I ask, where does this money, the events, when we
So
do,
it
where does this
offsets-
money go?
Yeah, it offsets some of the cost of the event.
So it could go to the
Okay.
Arts Council or events, or if Historic has something, it helps offset the cost for that particular event.
Okay, well, it goes to a good place then, okay.
All right. I think Commissioner Colbert did weigh in. Everyone's weighed in. So the motion, I'm gonna try the motion. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. So is there a motion to approve resolution 2022-12 setting service fees with the change that event vendor fees will be $100 per event for town residents and businesses and $125 per event for out-of-town residents and businesses?
So move.
Is there a second?
I
Second.
second.
Oh, yeah, no, we had public comment. Sorry, go ahead. Okay, John, you can call the vote.
Okay, let me read it into the record first, and then we will go ahead and call the vote.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Resolution 2022-12, session regular town meeting, introduced June 28, 2022, dated July 26, 2022. A resolution authorizing setting of fees for vehicle parking lot rates and permits, FOIA request, notary, copy, and permit services. Commissioner Colbert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Duckett, how do you vote?
Aye.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott,
Aye.
motion carries.
I am gonna interrupt the agenda real quick to give Chief, if you can spend 1 minute, Chief. Because I know you wanted to say something.
All I was gonna say is I can't speak about the fence, and if you did make that phone call in July, that will be talked about next month, and this is last month's stuff. I did see the call, and if the county did not come out at that time, my recommendation is that you would call them back just to make sure that they are responding and responsive. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, so we will move on to resolution 2022-13, annexation legal services. John, if you can read it into the record, and then Kyle, if you can give us a summary.
Will do. Resolution 2022-13, session regular town meeting dated July 26, 2022. A resolution of the Town of Board of Commissioners of the Town of Upper Marlboro to retain the Levan Ruff LLC for annexation support.
Thanks, John. Yeah, so this resolution is pretty straightforward. The board's discussed bringing on additional legal services that would fall under the legal line item of the budget. They reviewed a couple proposals from a couple law firms, and I guess at this point has selected Levan Ruff LLC, and the public can see the engagement letter in the packet as well.
Yes, and we voted last month to direct you all to execute this contract and write up this resolution.
I have a question about it.
Mhm.
If you don't mind. So, I mean, after we had our, I guess our work session, and we kind of put things into perspective about Levan and Ruff, I'm in agreement with them. The only thing I kind of had an issue with is I don't know if this is true or not, but I had heard that you worked for this person. So I just wanted to know, did you work for Karen in the past?
So I have never worked for these lawyers. I worked for a firm called Jakubiak, and that was back before I had my children. And Jakubiak worked in the town of Churchill as a town planner. And Karen Ruff and Alyssa Levan worked for Funk and Bolton at the time, and they were Funk and Bolton was employed by Churchill to be their lawyers. So I never worked for them in the same firm as them, any of that. So, 15 years ago, I knew their names because they were reviewing these things that we were writing in my office. So,
Okay. So you did have some, so you said they were reviewing the documents from your office?
right. So when I was a town planner, we would sometimes write these resolutions. We would do codifications, write comprehensive plans, all that kind of thing. And sometimes, then we would provide them to the town, and then the town would take them and give them to the attorney. And sometimes if the attorney had questions, they would speak with my boss. Sometimes we would be at the same meeting. So yes. But I haven't spoken to her between 15 or 14 years ago. Marcel was about to be 14. And up to us deciding we wanted to get some more expertise in annexation, I hadn't spoken to them.
Okay, well, I did do some research, and I do see that she has been effective with Bowie. So hopefully this is a good choice that we've made. Thank you.
Are there any other commissioner questions or comments? Okay. Do we have any public comment? I don't see any. Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution 2022-13 annexation?
Oh, I'm sorry, before you move forward, I apologize. It just came top of mind. Just wanted to make sure that in terms of like all of the scope of work, that we've had a legal review of this, of what,
Yes,
okay, of
Yes.
all that they've sent it to, okay.
yes, the attorney reviewed, Kyle, that's correct. He said he reviewed it for legal sufficiency.
Right, he didn't have any changes to the resolution.
Okay, so not just the resolution, but did he also see the scope of work?
Yeah, the retainer letter was included
Oh, okay,
when it was sent to him, correct? Yeah, he got the whole package.
okay, that sounds good.
So is there a motion to approve resolution 2022-13 annexation legal services?
So moved.
Second,
John, you want to call the vote?
Yes. Commissioner Colbert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Duckett,
Aye.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanchett.
Aye.
Commissioner Lott,
aye.
motion carries.
Okay. So we will move on to resolution 2022-14 authorized police body camera purchase. John, if you can read it into the record, and then I think we will turn it over to Chief first.
Will do. Resolution 2022-14, session regular town meeting dated July 26, 2022. A resolution of the Town Board of Commissioners of the Town of Upper Marlboro to approve the purchase of police body cameras and to enter into a 5-year service contract with Axon Enterprise Incorporated.
Okay, everybody. So good evening. So the body camera conversation with the town has been going on for the past 2 years. So this is not a new request or purchase. Actually, I brought this forward back in 2020. As we all know, body cameras are the thing that news outlets and citizens want to see the first instant that something happens with an incident involving law enforcement. So I'm putting this forth now while we have the funds to pay for it. It's coming out of the budget that was already approved, and pretty much it's long overdue. Obviously, it will become mandatory in a few years, but it is highly recommended that agencies have it, because that is the first thing that families, media, and citizens are asking for when they look for evidence of wrongdoing or good police work. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that information. And I think that we can all agree that we all would like to have body cameras. I think it's just a part of the way that society, with all the things that are happening in society, is no, surprise that we would need to have something like that. My question is, and I also understand that this money was also budgeted for it, and we've heard about this before. But my question is, will this, and again, I like to repeat, I know that this has already been budgeted, but my question is, during that time, would this be something or purchase that we could have found a grant for? Is there a grant out there? That's question one. And number two, would the red light camera fees be able to pay for something like this before we go pulling from the monies that we have in the budget? Just wanted to try to understand that and see what the options are. Although we've already dedicated money for this, I want to understand that.
So the question in regards to grants, no, there were grants available up until July 1. So what happened was, when the state made it mandatory with the new legislation, all of the grants went away, because once you make something mandatory, the entities that were giving out the grants said, well, it's no longer something that we're going to give you money for. You should have gotten it hopefully before then, which we did not do because we didn't have the resources to pay the long-term as you see the 5-year contract. So the second part of the question is, yes, it could be paid for out of speed camera money. However, we don't have any speed camera money currently. And just to be quite honest, this contract would have been a minimum of $7,500 cheaper 2 years ago had we done it. So each month, year we put this off, it continues to go up because it is becoming more and more needed. Obviously, these vendors are knowing this, so they demand more money. And so we have to move on this while we have the money budgeted for it. And, maybe down the line, as we add more body cams, we can look at paying for that out of the speed camera, but this is a multi-year contract. So I actually negotiated this down because the initial payment was twice the amount. But I was able to talk to the gentleman, explain our situation. And so he was willing to negotiate and work it down for us.
Thank you. And you also mentioned about the timeline on this. So in terms of a timeline, when is it that we actually need to have this in place for a municipality, for a town?
5 years ago. We should have been.
So I thought you said, so I thought, well, I'm just saying, was there a guideline given in terms of time? Because I thought you mentioned just a moment ago, you said something about a couple of years. So I'm just trying to figure out, is there a time frame in which this has to be in place like everywhere?
The law is 2025. But
okay, that's what I was trying to understand.
Right. The law is mandated that all police departments in the state of Maryland has it by 2025. And the reason when they say 2025 is because the larger agencies have to outfit more people than they originally thought they had to outfit. So originally it was more or less the patrol officers. Now they want the SWAT teams and different specialty units to have body cameras. So they putting that in the law, they had to give these larger agencies more time to get all of this stuff done and all of their their officers outfitted. So by us being small, we're starting off small, but ultimately as we grow, our numbers of body cameras is going to go up. So.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to see that we have it available now. I hope to see that in the future, that we're using like the red light camera funds for some of these purchases. But thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Agreed. I'm very much in agreement that Brad, we're even though maybe we're a little behind where you wanted this to be a couple of years ago, we're getting ahead of the statutory mandate on this. In a couple of years. Chief, would you mind, are you able to confirm, just for my education, that we have maintenance as well as inseparability clauses in this contract?
Yeah, so what happens is built into this is, for an example, in 3 years, these body cameras will be refreshed or replaced so that if a camera is actually damaged, we can get it serviced. It's a service agreement involved in that. But the 3rd year, they will be replaced. And at the end of the 5th year, they will be replaced. That is a part of this overall package so that we're not carrying 5-year-old technology, 3 years or 4 years from now. I mean, it's just technology keeps advancing, and that's why the cost keeps going up. So we're into an agreement where we get either refreshed or brand new body cameras at the 3rd year and at the 5th year.
Thank you.
I think that's excellent.
We do have one public comment. Ms. Evelyn Stevens.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for the kind words that you provided to me, especially Commissioner Duckett, who reached out to me early on when she found out that I had resigned. So as you can see, especially President Franklin would know I'm still around as both of you want me to be. Thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioner Hanchett also. and Commissioner Lott. The question I have for Chief Burst is, what is your initial request? Because I know you mentioned that you're getting a few now, you're getting a small order now. What is that order now of the body cam?
You mean, how many are we getting?
Yes,
6.
you're ordering 6 now. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that the question was asked about the contract, the 5-year contract. So this is a 5-year contract that you negotiated. And I agree with everyone that 3 years refresh is great. So that answers my question on that one. The only other question I have is in the resolution where the first whereas, I believe, and I can't read it. I don't have my glasses. I can't read with them anyway. But it talks about the reason why you or the town is needing the body cams. And I understand now totally why you're going through this process. But that paragraph does not mention the real reason. It talks about buildings. It does not talk about people. And to my understanding, that's what body cams are for. It's for the people. It's for the police officers to hold them accountable, make sure that everything's okay with them. And it's also for the people. That first whereas does not, to me, present the correct reasoning. And
I think,
I don't do the whereas. That would be somebody. So I can't answer that. I don't.
Well,
so,
I mean, it's for discussion for everybody.
Oh.
so the whereases are written by the town attorney, and what they are actually is like the legal basis for it. So I think your point is absolutely correct. I just think there's nothing in the charter that says that, or maybe there is, and that's a Kevin question.
I think based on the charter being written when it was, body cameras was not even thought of at that particular point.
Exactly, I agree. But that was then, this is now. So I just feel that we should make mention of that instead of, it's, to me, it's not correct, but it may be correct as far as the legality of it. But don't you think we should mention somewhere about that is protecting not just the structures, but the people?
So I'm going to cut the public comment and bring it back to the board for discussion.
I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a comment. I like that you pointed that out, actually, Mrs. Evelyn, because that does make sense. It may hold up to the legal stature and the terminology, but in adding this, that where we all know that body cameras are used to actually watch the action and to see what's going on with the interaction of the police officer to the suspect, victim, to that person, as well as their actions to make sure, that they're accountable. So it's the action in between those two individuals, as well as the surroundings. So that makes a lot of sense. And it makes a lot of sense, because if we just are focusing on the fact that it's just structures and things of that nature, it doesn't speak to the full scope of what these body cameras are there to do. So I think that was very, thank you for pointing that out. I just think it's something that we should consider. And even if this is based on something that was used or found somewhere else, and we just decided to use it for us or not think about what we could add in, well, we thank you for the comment, because that's very clear that I think we need to at least think about having that terminology, some wording added in there to talk about how that action, that activity happens. So to speak.
Thank you. Thank you for it.
So I'm gonna just I've been writing while you guys were talking. So I think that based on Kevin's previous things, and Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, we can put in a whereas that is just like, whereas this is why we want to do it. And so what I kind of was writing was like, whereas the town finds it in the best interest of staff, residents, and visitors to the town for its police officers to wear body cameras for the protection of the people in the town. And then just put that language in there. So what we could do is we could make a motion to add language similar to what I just said, pending the approval of the town attorney, and we can approve this with that modification as long as the town attorney approves it. If he doesn't, then it would just get approved without it. Kyle, did I speak out of order?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
So you pretty much nailed it. The charter doesn't really have it. This comes out of the general powers of the section of the charter. So that may be something that the board wants to look at. But the charter is maybe adding some more like public safety related powers. So future purchases or policies can refer back to like the protection of people and safety of residents and whatnot. But yeah, we can, if the board wants to make a motion to adopt with the motion to make an edit to add a whereas, and we can work with the attorney on some language and send that out to the board before the resolution is ready to be signed.
Everyone feel comfortable with that?
I just want to make a comment. I just want to say that it protects both sides. Not just one. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, so I am going to ask if there is a motion to approve resolution 2022-14 authorizing body camera purchases with the addition of phrasing similar to, whereas the town finds it in the best interests of its staff, residents, and businesses and visitors to have body cameras on its officers for the protection of all people, pending the approval and modification of verbiage by the town attorney.
So moved.
Second.
John, do you want to call that?
Will do.
Before we vote, I'm sorry, I had a question. I'm just saying, I have no, I don't have any issues with what you just stated. I just think that somewhere in there, maybe if we could possibly tweak it a little bit, just for the liabilities, because I know that we're not just protecting town staff, but also I'm thinking of the employee. So it goes, full circle. So
yeah.
So we're not just voting that verbiage and we're just saying that.
That was my.
We're voting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're voting something along those
Just
lines as
something
tweaked
along
by the
everyone.
town
Modified,
attorney.
but
Really
more
county.
modified by the attorney.
Right. Yeah, if he tells us absolutely no, then we're gonna have to strike it, right? We'll have to defer.
Right, got it. Makes sense.
Commissioner Colbert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Duckett, how do you vote?
Aye.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
Aye.
Motion carries with the amended language.
All right, we will move on to resolution 2022-15 Park Mobile Agreement. We are actually planning to table this, so we're just going to have Town Administrator Snyder explain why and more about it.
Thank you, Mayor. So as the town moves forward with its kind of parking upgrade program, one thing that kind of came to our attention is we can offer different apps for pay to park. The mobile apps are becoming more and more popular and replacing a lot of the individual street meters, or so people don't have to carry change or swipe a card, and they can control their parking time from their phone. So if they're out somewhere, one of the biggest used, currently the town does have an app for IPS, Park Smarter app. It's not really very popular. It's just what our vendor with the parking meters has. So it kind of came with the equipment. But the town's recommending to move forward with signing up with Park Mobile. They're probably the premier, I'm not trying to sell them to you guys, but they are the most heavily used one in our area. And they also currently have a contract with Prince George's County. So the Water Street lot and the Judges Drive lot both offer Park mobile options. So pretty much with the town were to offer this, then people could come into town and see and either park at a town street meter or park at the Church Street lot or park at Judge Drive. So people can just download the one app and use the one app, whether they're coming to Upper Marlboro or DC and whatnot. Another factor is that it's geofenced. So once a driver coming to the courthouse enters that's geofence or GPS range, it'll automatically prompt them like, hey, these is the different areas where you can park. And I'm directing like you can park in front of the courthouse, on Governor and Bowie Drive, Church Street lot, or the county lots. So it's pretty much just adding a cohesive blend for parking options for the visitors coming into town. It doesn't cost the town anything to run. All back end charges are passed on to the user like it is with our current parking vendor. So there may be a small implementation fee for them to be brought into our enforcement app. Probably around $500 is what the salesperson quoted, but I'll get better numbers when it's brought up for approval. But just the one thing that that was caught with it, the attorney had some minor adjustments to the resolution, just tweaking some segments, and he also recommended a 120-day out clause, which the company's adding, but they're currently not in good standing with the state due to some paperwork issues. So that's why I'm not recommending the board move forward with approving it, but they are. I made them aware of it, and they're working to fix it. So once they produce the proof that they're in good standing to do business in the state of Maryland, I can bring it back for recommendation for approval. But I'll take any questions from the board.
If the board doesn't have any questions, we do have one public comment. Ms. Darrellin, are you there? Okay. And do we want to take the public comment? It's Darrellin Strother.
Hey, I just can't see the screen. That's my feedback. It crops off the writing, so I can't see.
Oh,
I tried adjusting myself, but yeah, that didn't do anything. So I don't know if it's scaled. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
okay, thank you. Okay, any other commissioner comments? Or do I have a motion to table resolution 2022-15 Park Mobile Agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Colbert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Duckett,
Aye.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hatchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
Aye.
Motion carries. To table it.
So we will move on to the policies. These are all under one event, one item to just make voting go a little easier. If we want to make any changes, we can put them into the motion or take stuff out. So Administrator Snyder, you want to take us through them one at a time? And if we don't have, we're going to take public comment at the end of all four of them. But if commissioners have comments on each item, then we'll address them and then we'll move on to the next one.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. So the first one up is the event policy, pretty much just how the town plans for the events to make sure that maximizing staff time and resources effectively, and we're not having kind of events popping up, and just establish a timeline for the events and a calendar that gets published in January of each year. And it does classify like larger public events versus like smaller town events like ribbon cuttings, groundbreakings, receptions, appreciation events, and stuff like that that are not necessarily geared toward the full public, an event open for everyone, but it's kind of the smaller things. So those are not included in that. So it sets a standard rain date. That's always something that comes up with events, is the rain date the next day, is the week after. So this kind of sets a standard. So the public understands any town event, if it's rained out and there is a rain date, it's the following week. So that helps clear that up, and it also makes the criteria for calling a rain date and when to call the rain date and weather cancellations. So that helps, because that was also something like, do we hold the event, do we not? But now it's a clear, like, the 60% chance of rain, we're not gonna be able to have the event moving forward. It also just puts events not sponsored by the town, or it highlights pretty much how a town permit required for special events, submitted 15 days prior, if there's road closures or staff request supports. And then if it also clarifies that an event held by an outside entity, the town can help advertise. That's pretty much the gist of the event policy.
Any commissioners?
I have something. Kyle, you said, this is Commissioner Lott, you said the 1 week following the event date. I'm totally fine with that. The only question I would have is, so we would have to have all the, when you do the contracts, you'd have to put in there, because I remember one time we discussed it before, how it would cost us money to cancel and do another day when I guess the last Marlboro Day. So I guess that's what brings my question to say, like, so would this be in the contract that we'll have a rain date in the contract as 1 week from the date with all the vendors?
Great, yeah, that helps. Now, if once it's kind of codified or kind of recognize this policy moves forward, then yeah, we can refer to that policy and all the contracts and whatnot. We're not just shooting from the hip for different events.
Right, no, I think that, I just think that's important. So we don't wind up spending more money, you know what I mean, if it's already written in there. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that I think probably some places we still would lose, like porta potties, and like rentals that we do ahead of time, we could potentially still lose money because we're so small, they're dictating the contract to us. Is that accurate? Although
that is correct.
Sorry, I was looking for you there, Director Bond, to answer that, because sometimes he can negotiate us something better.
Okay.
I have a suggestion. I don't know if it falls in line, but with the smaller events like community contact and business get together, can we talk about maybe getting a bigger tent so that we won't have to postpone those smaller events? I'm not talking about Marlboro Day. Yes, if it rains, you want to do something else. But those smaller events where there's 20, 30 people, if we had a bigger tent, we could accommodate it and actually not have to postpone it. And I'm not saying we have to discuss it now. It's just a suggestion. Thank you.
I think maybe internally Director Bond can, and Administrator Schneider can kind of talk about that and see if it's possibly something we can do.
One comment was kind of a typo correction on that first bullet point there. So all events should be planned by the November 31st. I would correct that for the 30th. But also in kind of along those lines, I think when we discussed this previously, I just want to circle back. I had made a comment about making the event year, the event planning year, coterminous with the fiscal year, so that we're able to see all together what the events for one budgeted year is going to be. Did we determine that that wasn't something we wanted to move forward with, or do we? That's something still milling around.
I think that's a great idea.
That is probably just me not actually changing the language. So I think we had said it was going to be March.
Yeah, I think so.
30
The
instead of
fiscal year
November.
starts, sorry, if the fiscal year starts July 1st, we're doing our budget work sessions, March, April,
Yeah.
May, and voting on it by early June, then probably I would think a March or April time frame for getting those events submitted would be good.
So if we put that, and it should just say March 30th instead of November 30th, and that's my own.
And clarify that it's for the following fiscal year. Just to.
All town commissions submit their planned events by March 30th. They're events for the following fiscal year. So I'll read this when we get there. The change I have written here is all town committees should submit their planned events for the following fiscal year by March 30th. Cool. Okay, so I'll read that in when we get to.
March 31st, right?
Well, March 31st, yeah.
Oh,
March 31st.
I can take, yes. There we go. Got it. All right. Any other commissioners have anything on events? All right. We're going to move on to overtime and drug testing. I just want to clarify, this is us directing the staff to make some handbook changes. I kept this on the agenda because we had planned to put it on the agenda. There are some other things we're gonna have to talk about at the work session with regard to like handbook and just like employee personnel, like not personnel, but employee, I don't know, HR issues. So this is kind of us directing them that this is one of the changes we want to make to the handbook. I should have let you say that, Kyle. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah. You clarified. So this is all these are going to be put into a resolution for the board to look at probably at the August town meeting. That's in some other items coming up for discussion at the work session, where we're going to have the HR firm there as well. So just a quick overview of these two. Overtime pay. There's really no set description of overtime pay in the handbook, sort of kind of clearing it up a little bit. So it sets what double rate is or halftime and gives a general overtime rule, as you can see there from the state website. It also establishes a 3-hour minimum callback window. So if there's an emergency at town, we have to call either police officers or public works personnel. It's a 3 hours. So if they work less than 3 hours, they're still getting 3 hours. But if once they start working over 3 hours, then it's just they're paid by the hour pretty much at that point. And then there's on-call pay as well. So if we hold people over for inclement weather or whatnot, or if they're on standby for inclement weather or snow, so they can't like go anywhere or go party because they're waiting to see what the weather forecast is going to be like. There's an on-call rate. And then event pay category is one of the big changes, so that right now events are kind of used as overtime. A lot of them are happening on Saturdays after hours and stuff like that. So the event pay is good because then we can track for budgetary reasons and we can start budgeting overtime for events and kind of coordinating that together and separating event overtime from actual town operations overtime, which will be a valuable tool. So, and then drug testing, we kind of discussed a bit, but randomized drug testing for town staff and employees.
Any commissioner questions or comments on this?
Yes, this is Commissioner Duckett. Has there been any recommendation for the event pay from Insurity or any other source?
They did look at it and they were good with this event pay. So I think we're keeping the rate the same. Probably none of my employees get, no one in general government gets overtime, so I'll defer to Director Bond or Chief Burst, but it's just it's the same rate as overtime. It's just a separate classification to help us track it better.
That's correct. It's the same rate. It's just going to be categorized differently from regular overtime. It'll just be labeled as event so that we can track the number of hours and dollar amount per event and tabulate that at the end of the year so that we know where we stand as far as events. Because for me personally, if somebody has a last minute event, that's why we're trying to streamline it, and they want the police there and we didn't plan for it, now we have to adjust schedules and do things of that nature. So we can say this came out of the events category versus a later rest or something like that.
Yes, I was speaking to where the suggestion was, it says in consideration of this, in terms of the event pay, we should also consider charging outside events for staff hours so as not to incur costs from the outside events. So it sounds like this is something that we're suggesting, it's a recommendation that we're not currently doing by charging the events, I guess the events, the person themselves that is applying for this application to hold the event, we're charging them back. So is this a chargeback?
So we're
That's what I'm
not
trying-
currently charging, like if we help out with an event, we don't charge for that. So we're just
Mhm.
incurring it all ourselves. So that's kind of why I put that in there, where it's like us, the board is directing staff to look at what it's gonna cost, so like what we should be charging outside entities. And so this will help them figure out what that number is that we should be charging outside entities. And then we can, as a board, consider it in a few months when they've had a little bit of time to get some data.
Okay, so that's what I want to find. Is it a
Lord.
chargeback?
Sit down.
situation? Okay.
Good boy.
Anything else, guys?
I just had a quick question.
Mhm.
Is that fee where we're charging for outside events for staff, is that in addition to the event fee? Does that sort of, I guess, does the event fee sort of take the place of what would be charged for this, sort of to offset that cost, or how does exactly that work?
Yeah, so that's basically what this parentheses here is, sort of the direction from the board to figure that out and kind of present to them, or to present to us what you guys come up with based on your conversations and comparisons and all of that kind of thing. So, but we'll have that conversation. This is kind of just saying we're going to have this conversation. And this gets us the data we need to have the conversation.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I just have a quick question. So mine's is around the drug test policy, because I received some information from the vendor today. Are we discussing this again at a work session, or what is that?
Are you, all right, what we can do, and just I'm looking at the time as well, so what we can do is just say, we're gonna take the overtime and drug testing out of whatever this vote is and discuss it again at the August work session. And it sounds like, based on kind of like the staff questions and comments, we might need to do that. Unless commissioners have objections to that. Okay. Is that okay, Chief? Then
Yes,
we'll
'cause-
talk about it in August. And
Yes,
we can keep rolling with the meeting tonight.
yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll get the motion with that. And we're gonna move on to the citation policy. We did get.
Can I just ask?
Oh.
So can I ask, so we're taking out the drug test until August, and what else?
The overtime and drug testing, because it's together. It's technically a handbook revision. That's why it's together.
No, just ask. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
I'm like air quoting over here. So we'll move on to the citation proclamation policy, and we have the policy, and then we have comments from the lawyer with the changes. I think those are the only changes we have that came in. Are there any comments, questions, discussion on this topic?
Just on the citations, where it says, in the interest of preserving the separation between church and state, citations or proclamations will not be issued for religious events. So basically, what type of religious events would you issue a citation or proclamation for? Because I thought that we would only, because the churches are part of the history, that we will only be issuing citations or proclamations as it pertains to the town, not for anything else. Is
So I
that,
added that. So we talked about this at the work session, and then I added the historic milestones for religious buildings or organizations of any denomination will be issued as they relate to the church's history in the town or its accomplishments for Upper Marlboro community. Was that not what you were looking?
it basically is what I was
Okay.
looking for. I just wanted to know, I guess, what, that's basically it. It's fine.
I was just, I was early on receiving a lot of requests for like my baptism or, this day I'd never heard of that has a religious.
That's
So it was
ridiculous.
just like,
Those
so
are ridiculous.
that's kind of where that came out of.
Okay.
So then we have the changes from the attorney.
It's in the lines of what I was looking for.
Okay,
Yeah.
so any other discussion? We can just, when we make the motion, we can make the motion to incorporate the changes recommended by the town attorney, unless there's discussion. Okay. So we're going to move on to the facade business improvement program grant applications award policy. Questions, discussion?
Yes, I actually have a couple of proposed changes that came out of the meetings that we had previously. Understanding that not all of them, you know, encompass everything, but I think that the biggest things are in relation to every business in town getting an application for grant funding. I think if we could clarify that language a little bit to along the lines of every business within the targeted improvement area. That way it ties to the sustainable communities application that we've submitted and has been approved by the state. I think that again winnows down the, you know, kind of does some of the eligibility work up front, but also make sure that we're able to tie that to the plan that's been laid out and the requirements that have been passed. The other piece, I think that we should leave in or, you know, strike the language regarding the chair of the committee not being a town resident. I do think it's important, you know, to have input from residents outside of town, especially as we're annexing and bringing in or trying to bring businesses in from outside of town borders. But I think there needs to be, I think it does carry weight to have a town resident kind of have, or someone with skin in the game, kind of have that leadership position, kind of guide.
I'm sorry.
Some of that work.
Where is that so that I can?
Maybe that was in a previous version, but that's not in this one.
Okay.
Then already taken care of. So.
Sorry.
And then the last piece is on the last bullet point. Businesses will only be eligible to receive funds every 5 years. I don't think we should necessarily have that hard line moratorium on every 5 years. I think we should probably incorporate some language alluding to, you know, prioritization for businesses, you know, is a factor of that would be how recently they received funding. And the spirit of that being, you know, if you received funding last year, maybe you fall to the bottom of the list in terms of awardees for the current year. You were 2 years out, you're a little bit further up the list and kind of further back. That way we're not discouraging, you know, businesses from applying, but we're also setting in place, we're encouraging new businesses to apply and at least giving them a bite at the apple first before we're giving the same businesses money year after year.
I have a thought. Where, like he said, where every business is, you know, will receive an application. I thought previously we had said that it wouldn't be all businesses, that there were certain criteria that had to, you know, for them to get the funding, they had to pass certain criteria. Well, I don't remember if it was size or what it was that we talked about, but I remember we had, you know, restrictions, and I don't see that if we have every business.
So, oh, sorry, do you want to take that?
Well, I was just going to say, and I think that's kind of the spirit of the change I suggested in terms of within the targeted area, because the Sustainable Communities Work Group, you know, in doling out funds based on an application that was submitted to the state program that handles this funding, and in that application, there's a targeted area. It's basically, you know, the downtown core.
Right, but previously we talked about, it was in the beginning stages when we first came aboard. We had talked about having certain, like everybody wouldn't get an application like you were just talking about, but that there were certain, I don't know, anybody else remember that? We had, I can't remember exactly what it was, but we, does somebody from the Sustainable Committee remember what we had?
I just want to, I want to explain why that went in there. And what happened was that there were a lot of businesses that were ineligible, but were asking like, why didn't I get this? Why can't I get it? You know, and so they've been ineligible for years. So theoretically, they'd been being communicated for years why they were ineligible, but they still didn't seem to know. So what I thought was if everyone gets an application, then you can fill out the application and then coming back
They can tell you,
they can tell you why. You get like a written explanation of why you're ineligible. So then you're not saying, why am I ineligible? Even though it's been verbally explained to you, here's your written explanation. And then that way that helps clarify for businesses who don't understand. Like, and two, if say you're ineligible because you're not in good standing with the state, then you get that back. Then you're like, oh, I just have to make myself in good standing with the state, and then I can resubmit my application. If it's because your business is just not ineligible, then you say, oh, my business isn't eligible and I won't submit the application. But that way everyone has like a written, and it can't be, what was happening was like, oh, they won't give me an application. And then, but we tried to give applications and it was kind of like going like this and that, and having
But
it.
I do remember us discussing something about the facade. Now, if they were going to use it for the facade, then I thought that we were interested in giving them an application to apply so they can get the money to help us give Main Street a facelift. I think it was something along those lines.
Yeah, and that could be the priority list too. They could prioritize, you know, so the Sustainable Community Working Group is prioritizing them and bringing them to us according to these. So they would say, we're prioritizing these four because what they're doing is to their facade rather than their interior.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do we know, in terms historically, do we know how many businesses have participated? And the reason why I'm asking that is because of the last bullet point when we were talking about discussing the frequency of them being able to receive or be awarded. So I'm thinking from my understanding, and I don't know, maybe someone has the data, historical data, and I'm talking about maybe as far back as just 5 years, as early as 5 years ago. If only a few people are applying for the grant, and just because of, you know, there's just only a few people that happen to apply, then that's just going to roll them right back up to the top of the list when they submit an application. So do we know how many people have applied previously? Like I said, let's just go back 5 years ago. I'm just taking a stab at that to see, because if we don't put some type of timeline there, which I'm not saying that it has to be, but if we do not, then we need to also understand that if there's only about 3 businesses that are applying for these grants, they're going to quickly roll back up to the top.
I'll say to that, and so to directly answer your question, I don't have the hard data in front of me. Anecdotal evidence, as it's been, you know, kind of explained to me, that when this designation, when this group kind of came about back in, I think 14 or 15, I think 14, there were literally just a handful of businesses that were applying, and then so each year it was the same businesses getting funded over and over again. And I think the work group, again, from my understanding from conversations, has worked to advertise the program, and there's slowly been more, you know, a trickle of new businesses that have been applying for it. But that's why I think the prioritization piece, at least for me, is important, because it kind of is a forcing function to continue to advertise to new businesses that they come into town, or businesses that have been established in town, that, hey, this money is available, this is the program, and try to get them in the pipeline. But at the same time, if someone doesn't bite that apple 1 year, we don't want to leave money on the table if there are still businesses in need of the funding. So that was kind of my thought behind incorporating that prioritization kind of mechanism.
Right. And I get that. It's not that I don't not agree with it. It's just that I'm wondering if we can't gauge like with that participation, and hopefully through those marketing efforts, we will see, more businesses apply for these grants, because of course we want them to get these monies so that they can, improve their businesses. So if you're saying that there's more participation, then I guess that's a good gauge, at least, to know that we're not going to have, hopefully, the same businesses applying and rolling right back up to the top.
Yeah, and I think to your point, I think it'll be good for us to, or for the working group, or for, whatever mechanism, to collect that data and really understand what that's looking like.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to read the changes I wrote down based on the commissioner comments. So the first bullet would be changed to every business within the targeted improvement area will receive instructions. ... There will be an additional bullet that will say facade improvements will be prioritized over interior improvements. Then the last bullet will be removed and replaced with phrasing: priority for receiving funds will be based on how recently the business has received funding. Do you want specifics on that, or is that good?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, so that gets us through all these policies. We have 2 hands up for public comment, so we'll take public comment, and then I will read all these changes into the motion for us.
Patty Caldecott?
Yes, hi. Just one thing I wanted to mention, you all were discussing when folks were having events, but the budgets for each one of the are due on March 31st. And at that time, they should know what events they intend to have prior to. So you would already know what funding hours and events are coming in and what you are anticipating budgeting for each one of those committees. So I understand that you're changing the date to March 31st, but keep in mind that that is also the date with which each committee is responsible for providing a budget and a schedule to the town for the next fiscal year. And I want to enunciate that because last year, the budgets didn't end up coming in until very, very late. I believe some of them didn't come in until like May, right prior to. So if we keep enunciating the fact that these budgets are due March 30th, and it'd be nice to get a tickler in January to all the committees to remind them that their budgets and their schedules are due at the end of March so that we can get those in. The second thing is all of these resolutions and board votes. Can we, or can the town provide to each one of these resolutions? They're going for a board vote, which means they've been introduced prior. Can we get a date for which they were previously introduced? So we can then read the minutes regarding that introduction prior to, because this is an awful lot of board votes coming out. And some of these I haven't seen. And it would be nice for me to be able to go back and figure at a town meeting so that I understood why it's now going through a board vote. At this point, because it's going through a board vote, I just make the assumption that I missed a meeting where all of these were introduced at a town meeting. So it would be nice to know when all of these resolutions were originally introduced. And that wouldn't be very difficult as an introduction to the resolution itself that's coming up for a board vote.
All right, thank you. We have 2 other comments.
Hi, I have a question. So it's my understanding that you don't qualify for this if you do not have commercial property in the town, correct? Because you can be a resident and have a business, but not commercial property. You can have residential property or like your house. I just want to make sure that's not clear in here from what I read.
I believe that is correct, Commissioner Colbert.
Yeah, I do believe that's the case, but I can verify and get it.
Yeah, I think for me, it would be helpful to list it in here if,
I think because so the program is actually sent to businesses rather than to residents because that's who it's eligible for.
I understand, like I have an online business, right? But because I also live in the town in downtown.
Mhm.
But because I'm a business owner, then according to this, it would say that I would get an application, but I don't own commercial property. I own residential property in town. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're saying because you're not leasing residential, I mean, you're not leasing a commercial property in the town that you wouldn't be eligible, correct?
Correct, but it doesn't read that way in here.
Right. So maybe we should be more specific in the,
So I actually kind of hesitate to add that specificity. I don't want to get too, did you have more public comment?
No,
Sorry.
that was the only, because I had asked earlier, like, do I qualify? Because, I could use some facade, but
So-
I also have online presence, but I also have an in-person business too. But the point is that I don't have commercial real estate.
Okay.
And this is catered toward those that have commercial real estate in the downtown area and not those that necessarily have a business. Like, I'm just going to throw out an example, like Ernie, he has a area where you could buy fruits and vegetables, but essentially he wouldn't qualify for the grant because it's his house. It's not a commercial property.
Right. So I want to let Evelyn Stevens talk, but I just want to say that I think we probably should not clarify that because if the funds somehow are available for that, or they become available for that, and we've tied ourselves into only making them available for commercial property, then we have to revise the language.
Okay.
So that's, we're going to move to Evelyn because Evelyn's the expert. So
May I say something first, Sarah? I also want to say that then we should just make sure that it is based on what the grant is awarding. So if it's not in there, I don't know how that we can change it. If it's if the specification is for commercial properties, which also commercial properties are what affects I would say the beautification of the town. So basically, if they're using it to, for their facade improvement, then that benefits the town. But if we're allowing if a resident that has a business and a home is using it to, improve their home, I don't know where that would, benefit the town. It benefits the resident, but it really doesn't benefit the town and those people that actually have standing businesses in renting commercial property or own commercial property. So I think we should look at the scope of the grant itself and not try to include areas that it wasn't meant for when we have tons of businesses that need, the money. Which
yes, I'm not trying to change the scope of the grant. I'm just trying to leave it open-ended so that, because Evelyn is going to probably give us some history on it, but like the scope of the grant used to only apply to facades. They wrote the grant so that now it applies to interiors as well. So like if say there was this desire for Ernie's vegetable stand to be a bigger vegetable stand and he was going to invest in it, and there wasn't other money going out, like, do we want to exclude that business if it fits in the category? And it's not that I'm saying that's what we should do. It's just that I'm saying, let's leave it open-ended enough that change adjustments can be made, but let's hear what Evelyn has to say about it because she's the expert.
And then one point, it does have to be a business. So I don't know that if you're just selling fruit on the side of the road, because it's almost like a little pop-up stand that you you're using, and it's not legally a business. So
Well,
that's my-
well, it is.
Hold on, Darylyn, because your public comment period is over and we need to move on to
My
Evelyn.
bad.
Kyle was also raising his hand.
Oh, I didn't see it over there.
He
I'm
wanted
sure
to-
Evelyn will get it. I was just gonna reference the map, Evelyn, that we submit to the
Yes.
state.
Exactly. Thank you, Kyle, because that's what my point was to reference the map and see, number one, where she falls in the map. And then Sarah's right on point when she says that the history of the community legacy grant was written up based on the needs of the town, which was to revitalize the downtown district. And it started with facade improvement, and then there's different types of grants that would address a business like Darylyn's. But that grant that we have now, the FIP/BIP, does not include her type of business. And so, yes, you may want to keep it open-ended, as well as the explanation that Commissioner Duckett gave was also right on point. But I did want to mention about the policy, and is it possible that the policies can be modified through the years? I mean, it's not just, this is the policy and it's going to stay like that.
Yes, these are policies and everything can be modified over
Mhm.
time.
Right, as it goes on.
Yeah.
And then again, I have so much to say that it's losing my mind. See how old lady gets, she loses her train of thought. But Kyle, did you want to say anything other than the boundaries? And I also wanted to say that, yes, we have to adhere to the grant, what we have in that grant. And one of the reasons why we have the same people going out is because we were in jeopardy of losing our grant funds. And that could happen in the future, whereby, and I like the idea where you have priority. If you've gone before, then you're not as high a priority as someone who never has. But when it comes to the fact that we don't have enough businesses applying, and we're in jeopardy of losing the monies, what do we do at that point? How do we keep our monies going? Our
That's
grant,
why-
not losing our grant.
Yeah, that was what Commissioner Colbert's suggestion took care of that issue.
Yes, exactly.
Anything else? Throwing my pen.
I think that's
Okay. I'm going to go back to commissioners to see if there's any further discussion on this. And if there's not, I will read these changes in motion form and we can move on to the next item. Okay. So is there a motion to approve the policies for events with the change that the first bullet will read? The first paragraph in the first bullet will read, all town committees should submit their planned events for the following fiscal year by March 31st. And that, sorry, I'm still going. And, and that the citations and proclamations policy will be approved with the changes recommended by the town attorney. And that the facade/business improvement program policy will be approved with the changes in the first bullet, that every business will say every business within the targeted improvement area will receive. And the addition of a bullet saying facade improvements will be prioritized over interior improvements. And with striking the last bullet and replacing it with a bullet saying priority for receiving funds will be based on how recently the business has received funding in the past. That's it. I'm done. Someone can say so moved if they agree.
So moved.
Second.
John, I wrote that all down, so I'll give it to you.
Good, thank you. All right. Commissioner Colbert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Duckett,
Aye.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
Aye.
The motion carries with the amended language.
All right, we are getting close to 9 o'clock, so if we can discuss the contract timeline briefly, Kyle?
Absolutely, Mayor. So as the board provided staff with feedback on, staff identified a couple contracts that are like overdue or coming up due or have never really been reviewed. And I recommend kind of a two-phase release of RFPs, one here in the fall and then one in kind of late winter, early spring, just so that the board's not overwhelmed with 4 different RFPs being reviewed and whatnot. So I split them up, one kind of town professional service and then one like general service. So as you can see in the fall, I'm kind of recommending the town bid out, create an RFP to be approved by the board and released for 30 days on the town site and all that. The cleaning contract and the media support contracts would both go out at the same time. They follow the timeline 30 days and then the board can review and choose it and award it. And then the other 2 that would happen with the RFP being released in February is the lobbying government relations firm and possibly the IT firm. Because I think mainly the IT firm, we could see a flex in the budget amount that we have to appropriate for that. If we go with a different firm or if we're looking for a different scope, we could definitely see a budget change in that. That's why I pushed it kind of back toward the pretty much budget season when we're talking about that. And if the board's good with this, we can start preparing RFPs.
So I should have noticed this before, Kyle. I apologize. But I'm gonna say it might be best to switch the media and the lobbying because the lobbying firms will all be busy lobbying in February. And then, does anyone else have thoughts? Okay. Hearing no comments from the commissioners, is there a motion to direct staff to release RFPs for the town building cleaning and lobbying in September and the media support and IT service in February?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Want to see if there's public comment?
Oh, good.
Oh.
Oh, there wasn't any. I'm sorry. I looked at it and saw no hands up. So that's why I went to that.
Just double checking.
Yeah, good call.
Commissioner
Can I-
Colbert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Duckett,
Aye.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I have a quick question, guys.
Yes.
Or is this for Kyle or maybe? So when we post the RFPs, where are they visible?
Great question. We usually post it to the town social media outlets, the town website, everything links to the town website. And then for the statewide, we put on the Maryland Municipal League. They have a contracts RFP page that we post there, so it can go statewide. Those are kind of the outlets we post it to.
Okay, thank you.
But we're open, we can send it anywhere. Anyone has any ideas?
Yeah,
Sorry.
more places we can send it, better.
I was just gonna say, as a follow-up to that, does the state have like a centralized procurement website or database? I know federal government does, but I don't know if the state has anything like that that we tried to put our feet into.
I think there is one, especially for, I think, minority and small businesses. We can put it on there. I can look into that, and when we present the RFPs, I can, in a memo or something, I'll include the different sites I've identified.
So I'm just gonna kind of pop in and say that we are kind of agreed to talk about financial policies and procurement in August. So just because it's 9 o'clock, I'm gonna say we push that discussion off till we're discussing the procurement policies. And move on to branding and horse show unless anybody yells, no, Sarah, no. Okay. I'm gonna try to just quickly do this again because it's 9 o'clock. So we're talking about rebranding. We have received a lot of public comments in multiple different ways. The town clerk has kind of written us a memo about the difference between the town seal and a town logo. I know what I want to say is the update is the town is looking to rebrand. The county is going to rebrand the greater Upper Marlboro area. They are thinking maybe horse country, maybe agriculture, maybe they're out there too. The town is not committing to rebrand as horse country. The town is committing to rebrand and to coordinate with the county so that greater Upper Marlboro and Upper Marlboro work together. And that is a process that is going to involve all the residents, and it's going to involve compromises and work groups, but that is a process that requires a firm who knows what to do. So I just want to say that we've definitely gotten public comment about it, which is great because I think that's what we need. We need engaged citizens that are saying, this is what the town means to me. And that's what the branding firm is going to want to see. Does anyone else have anything kind of they want to say on that?
I just appreciate the community input. That's all.
So keep the community input coming. We're going to be turning it over to a branding firm and moving forward in a collaborative process. And maybe we'll have John switch up some of the pictures. I've been having him use horses, but we can have him use other things. So I think John did a good job of explaining the difference between a town seal. I don't know. Do you want to say anything, John, about that?
No, I think the memo is pretty clear. I mean, the town seal is more or less just for official documents, we use it, of course, and then the logo can more or less incorporate, what we would all like into it. Everyone knows the Nike logo, everyone knows, Coca-Cola, everyone knows, it's something that, you look at and definitively that represents X. So it would be nice if we, as a town, can have a logo that just represents us all together. And it has, meaning behind it that it represents all, and it also represents, the town. And then when we see it throughout the state of Maryland, throughout the United States, everyone knows, hey, that's the town of Upper Marlboro. The greatest community to live in.
The best place to be in Prince George's.
That's right.
Okay, so just kind of keeping it on here so that people are talking and staying engaged. Anyone have any more comments, questions, thoughts to add? Okay, so we will move on to the Cruisin' on Main Street event application.
Every year, well, when COVID's not around, every year the board reviews the Main Street applications coming up on the 27th of August. It's being organized by the Marlboro Volunteer Fire Department, Lita's Pizza, and the Lions Club as usual. And so this is just an application for special event. And every year the board waives the $75 fee because it's going to support the Marlboro Volunteer Fire Department. And I know Chief Burst, myself, and Director Bond are in a bunch of the meetings planning to make sure everything goes smoothly for it. So I can take any questions.
Does anyone?
I just have one question about the road closures. Are we gonna, because this is like from I can't remember what time it was, 5 to 9 or something like that,
Yeah, roads close at around 3 o'clock.
until 9 p.m.
Yeah, around 9, 10 o'clock. It would be Main Street and Water Street. So Governor Bowie and Judges Drive will stay open as
Okay.
pass-throughs. And working to make sure all the businesses understand and state highway applications and whatnot. So everything's.
Thank you.
I'm gonna just request, and I think Commissioner Duckett will agree with me based on feedback we got from the businesses at last Cruise on Main. We really want to make sure that they are outreaching to the businesses now, letting them know that this is going on, because and also if they can kind of provide us their flyer or spiel so that we can send it to our business distribution list. Because this is seen as like, we're seen as partnering, and then it reflects badly on us if the businesses don't know this is happening. So I know I've told you guys that, but I'm just gonna reiterate it. Does anyone else have anything? All right, is there a motion to approve the Cruising on Main Street event application?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Commissioner Colbert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Decker,
Aye.
President Franklin,
aye.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We're gonna move on to administrative updates, and Kyle, as quickly as you can.
Absolutely. So as a lot of people may be aware that the county has freed up the $100,000 in streetscape out of the DPW and TCIP budget. So we're looking to kind of move quickly to get some of the funding, or not spent, but start beautifying downtown Upper Marlboro. Director Bond, myself, the mayor have been talking and speaking with the county of what they would like to see. So as you can see, there's a basic budget right here, some for street beautification, some for some public art installations, both permanent and, well, I think actually a lot of that public art is temporary, including some white screening fences to go around like some of the construction sites. And working with the Arts Council, both county and Upper Marlboro, to put some temporary public murals up on its white screen fencing. And just general streetscapes, from new trash cans, bike racks. One of the other public art things is back in the day, they had the birds, purchasing possibly a couple horses to get painted and put around town for the horse shows. And some flower pots and whatnot to put, or planters to put around town as well. If anyone has any questions on any line items, let me know. This is kind of like general approval. Once we kind of work through, get bids and stuff like, or not bids, but exact pricing, and we can start putting deposits on. We'll probably have a more comprehensive purchasing resolution in August, possibly.
I just want to point out that the whole of that 100,000 is not being spent because money is being put aside to do some work on Governor Odin Bowie Drive to protect our parking meters that keep getting hit.
And beautify, Governor.
And beautify, and beautify.
But this is also an investment too. I mean, this is gonna come back every year, right?
Though this is a one-time $100,000 grant.
No, I meant the show.
Oh, yeah. So this will be the first step in beautifying the plant. A lot of the stuff will be permanent: trash cans, planters, bike racks, stuff like that. That'll be a lot of permanent stuff.
These aren't really related to the show so much as like, can we clean our room before the show gets here?
That's what I meant. Thank you.
For the work you mentioned on Governor Odin Bowie Drive, is that work being done on county property that we're paying for, or what's kind of the line there that?
Correct. Yeah. So we're partnering with it. Governor Odin Bowie Drive is a county road. We obviously have an interest in it because we have the parking meter is there. They're going to be doing some upgrades themselves out of their own budget, including some new like line paintings and stuff like that, and handicap upgrades. But the one thing we were looking to do is kind of install some bump outs to help slow the roadway down, especially around the crosswalk area. Like they did on Main Street, they installed the bump out so that pedestrians are protected in that first lane where it's parking cars being parked, and then they can walk out. So DOT is saying that they can do the work and do it pretty much at cost, but they don't have like the budget for it. So if we use some of this $100,000 coming out of their CIP budget, they could kind of do that for Governor Odin Bowie Drive. But we're still waiting on proposals from them, but you can kind of do the math. We're saving about $40,000 for that work. If it's a lot more than that, obviously we'd have to talk to them about it, but that's where we're kind of.
So just kind of for time and clarity, like I asked them to get this to a lower budget with money being saved aside, because then we can say to them, okay, go forth with these street beautifications. If, then whatever comes in on Odin Bowie, like, and then say we have more money to put to it, we can say, okay, buy more of XYZ, or what would you do with these funds, so that some street beautification is happening, but we're also responsibly holding onto those funds to make the changes we need to. And then they can come forward to us again if it turns out the money is available for that. That was kind of why it was like that. I don't know if that clarifies.
Yeah, that's fine.
So are we good letting Director Bond and Administrator Snyder start going forward with this? Or are there things we don't want, things we wish were in here that aren't?
I was looking at the picture of that planner and I was thinking, I don't know what it's made out of. I don't know if it's hard plastic, whatever the case is, but if we're going to invest in something like that, it would be nice if we're just going to do like those nice big stone pots that, I don't know if they're really necessarily stone, but whatever they're made of, but they're really huge. And then we can just reuse it and it still looks beautiful for the town, as opposed to just doing something that's small and green. It could just continue to beautify the town all year long. We could even plant like little Christmas trees in them and different things, throughout the year. So I think just want to say that, like, if we could think about, you might want to keep those, but if we're thinking about putting them on the corners of strategic places where they really beautify, and they're going to be planters, and they should be really nice and big and be something that's long lasting.
Something we could use seasonally.
Yes.
Yeah, so the planters are going to be large. I think that's actually like a 3 foot by 3 foot metal planter. So they're definitely not small, but I know Director Bond's looking at some different sizes and shapes and
they're meant to be able to move around because the county specifically requested, could we put some flowers along the boardwalk between the equestrian center and downtown, which is like the Water Street? And we were like, look, it's not ours. And they were like, can you put something there temporarily and then take it away and put it somewhere else? So that was kind of why they're meant to be mobile, is like, you're specifically requesting this, you're giving us all this money, it's a small portion out of it, right?
And
So,
we can move it to Main Street.
right, let's beautify this for the
Yeah.
borough, and then we can move it.
It'll work both ways.
Yeah.
But I guess I would just ask, to make sure we're getting the money.
Yep.
You
Yes,
know?
this is, the money's been released, so.
yeah, we just have to start sending them invoices.
Yeah.
We're all
Well-
set up as a vendor payee. So once we start sending invoices, they start reimbursing us.
So you would
Oh,
see them get used in that location, but that's not their home. They're just going there to make things prettier for the horse show. And then they'll loop back in and be used for us all the time.
So I guess I can ask this question a little later. So, yeah. All right, because it's been late, so.
It is getting late. And then the next thing is the CSA leadership event support request. Did he actually email you, Kyle, or should I summarize what he sent to me?
He sent to me as well, but it's probably the exact same thing.
Go ahead.
So CSA 23 is asking for support for their National Night Out event, which is actually a week from tonight. In the past, the town cut a check for probably, I think, $1,500 a couple years ago. They've run out. So they're asking for some chairs, I think 10 chairs, which we can definitely provide because we're loading up the CERT trailer and going down with, I think, the police department, the CERT team, events committee, I don't know if Green Team and Arts, definitely historic as well, I think. So we're just going to add some extra chairs, but they're also asking if there's any monetary support we can give. So I don't know if the board wants to make a small contribution, $200, $250, $500. It could come out of the events budget or other, or
This is for who?
the National Night Out being held at the Amish Market. So it's going through the CSA Area 23
Mm-hmm.
Council, and it's being held at the Amish Market. Typically, municipalities host the National Night Outs themselves, and it's like a town-driven event, but just because of the historic nature of where this event is, it's at the Amish Market. The Amish Market's giving them free food. It's a good central location, even for town residents, honestly. Are the commissioners interested?
We got multiple emails this week about it.
I know in the past I've been to the Amish Market for the National Night Out, and it wasn't a big crowd. It was mostly like the fire and the police and stuff like that. They were so more there than, you know, having a actual crowd of people. I know they had like a moon bounce, and they gave out hot dogs, but like I said, it was not a lot of people from the town, or for that matter, to me. So I don't know.
Sorry, this is Commissioner Duckett. Kyle, previously, what has the town donated?
Well, I think the last time and the only time the town supported was probably back in 2018. The town cut a $1,500 check donation. And it supported them over a couple of years. It was a lot. I don't think they're not asking for that amount, but pretty much anything we'd be willing to give.
I mean, you know, as a good gesture, and because they're so close, I mean, our community, you know, uses that area quite a bit. I mean, we all do. We go through it. They come through town. I mean, we're neighbors, right? So I think it's a good gesture. I think that that anything that we can do to continue to promote like awareness and safety, and making sure that people can engage with the police and was the fire department as well?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, engage. And then, and you know, I think it's important that our community is still in contact with police and the fire department, and knowing that they're still there, and we have good police officers, we have great firefighters. I think it's just a small gesture to give to be able to contribute and to provide those chairs. Providing now, you know, I should not speak on behalf of Director Bond, but I'm just saying, I'm thinking the chairs is no problem if they're picking these things up, and then we hold them liable for using our furnishings.
That is not a heavy lift at all, Commissioner Duckett.
Okay, just say.
Literally or figuratively. So it sounds like Commissioner Duckett is saying we should make a donation. Commissioner Hanchett, Commissioner Lott is, I think, on the fence, and Commissioner Hanchett and Commissioner Colbert, do you want to weigh in?
No, I agree with Commissioner Duckett. I mean, I've attended several of the CSA meetings. It is, you know, a consortium of neighborhoods around us, you know, in this area. And I think it's good to be engaged with that and show that good faith partnership. So I would be on board with providing, you know, I don't think 1,500 is the number. But I think some you know, nominal donation would be welcome.
Didn't we say 1,500 lasted a couple of years or something?
Yeah, I think like honestly, I think Kyle's right. Like 250 would cover one of the things at least one of the things they're trying to do. They kind of like got it broken out because they don't have a pass through. So I think they're going to want us to pay the vendor directly.
I'm good for 250.
Yeah, I didn't hear, and I apologize, I didn't hear you mentioned the.
I heard about low turnout. That at 250 sounds good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. And it'll probably will pay one of their vendors. So it will just set up a general target amount.
I agree.
Are you okay with that? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I was like, we're all okay with it. A small amount. I just didn't want to do that without y'all. All right. So we're going to give Commissioner Colbert.
Hold on, for public comment.
So we're going to put the public comment in the public comment because there's not any on this.
Okay.
I know it's money, but it's also the beautification is kind of not being all implemented at once. So we will hear that comment in the public comment period. Go ahead, Commissioner Colbert.
So appreciate that, Mayor, and you all out indulging me a minute here. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the entirety of the last work session meeting that we had, but I did have the opportunity to go back and review the remaining of the meeting. So just had a couple of comments that I wanted to put on the record, and recognizing that a lot of these comments, you know, are overcome by events now, and some actions have taken place to address them, but I at least wanted to put it on the record, so I'll breeze through it. In relation to, and so I'll just read the comments that I had submitted previously. But before I do that, because I'm going to talk about SCWG first, I would be remiss if I also didn't mention and give Ms. Evelyn her flowers for the amount of work that she has done with SCWG. I mean, even now, still providing insight and history into the organization and policy. So I too want to, you know, extend my thank you for that, and also being grateful that you're still coming to these meetings and providing that insight and being engaged. So I'll just breeze this quickly. So again, this is in relation to the board session that was 2 weeks ago, and some of the conversation around that. In relation to SCWG, in addition to the comments I made prior to having to leave the call, I encourage a meeting with SCWG leadership to discuss the proposed changes and ensure goal alignment for the group. In relation to proclamations and citations, ultimately the discussion had taken a tone and tenor that was not, or rather should not, be representative of the town. Proclamations do not fundamentally change how we do business as a town, but do serve as a way to show recognition of those we serve. We have a diverse and continually diversifying population. I don't think it serves well to be exclusionary in how we're issuing proclamations, and will actually expand the proposed list to include at least Mental Health Awareness Month in May. I also agree with Commissioner Lott's assertion of including historical celebrations for churches in town as among those able to receive citations. Cherry picking proclamations based on a group's perceived recognition at other levels doesn't lend itself to an inclusive environment. I also do not believe that passing any one particular proclamation harms any particular individual or entity. I agree there are many pressing items facing the town right now, and this particular item seems to have gotten way more attention than the impact it would have on the town. Additionally, the mayor has the option to issue proclamations unilaterally, as many other governments do, but has chosen to try to be inclusive in her deliberations and execution. And as such, I think at this point, the issue, meaning the policy and list of proclamations, should be put to a vote, as perspectives have already been given, and we as individual commissioners should exercise our right to vote yay, nay, or absent. In relation to the topic on contract review, I agree with staff prioritization of contracts for review. Regarding economic development firm RFP, I agree with having the firm present at a town meeting for interaction with as many stakeholders as possible. And I believe that in the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission mentioned they may have some local contacts for economic development firms. Have we solicited those, or have we reviewed our list of requirements to see what may be trimmed or delayed in order to keep the awarded amount within the allocated funding? Related to the parking ordinance, agree with tabling that ordinance for later discussion. And I believe at the time we were talking about a library event that we would have been in favor of issuing a number of permits for in order to show good faith partnership. And finally, is related to the agenda for the remainder of the year. I think we needed to find some type of middle ground on the length and scope of future agendas. I was in agreement with the cadence and topics the mayor had sent out on multiple occasions previously, and believe firmly that annexation is one of, if not the biggest priorities for the town. As such, whatever items need to be addressed in order to keep progressing with that need to take precedent. If email exchanges are not providing adequate space for commentary on the agenda, then I would suggest a special meeting focused on agenda setting through the remainder of the summer and fall, leaving room for any pop-up items, or a dedicated 30-minute session at the beginning of the August work session to address and make sure we're all in it. So again, understanding a lot of those items have been taken care of at this point. I do, like I said, appreciate the opportunity to just have those comments be a part of that previous discussion. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So now we're going to move into public comment. It's getting very late. We have one public comment.
Hi, first of all, for the beautification, we have 3 rivers, we have 2 bridges. Why not put the plants on the bridges themselves? If anybody's ever been to Bryson City in North Carolina, when you walk into that, it's a walking bridge, and you walk past those beautiful flowers over the bridges. It looks amazing. We have the sidewalks there, hanging some some flowers there would be absolutely amazing as you enter our town as a greeting. I did have some questions about the red light cameras and about the annexation, any updates on those? And I also want to know when we're going to start having town hall meetings at the town hall. And then, as I talked earlier about our parking lot is not, there's no cameras, there's nothing, there's no security there. And I was scared. I was scared that they were parking in a very dark spot, that they walked out, that they walked up the street, they weren't gone long, and they were back in there. If they just needed to visit or drop something off, they would have parked in front of somebody's house. But the fact that they used that back corner of that parking lot, something needs to be done to make sure that nothing nefarious is going on in that town parking lot. And I'm sorry, I'm very upset at Mr. Burst telling me his response to that issue was for me to call PG County.
I'm sorry, so
non-emergency.
we're not going to personally attack staff, so we're not going to do that in the public comment.
I just want to know, why would that be? Why wouldn't Burst, Chief Burst speak with me?
So you call Prince George's County, so you need to talk to Prince George's County. So that's, but we're not going to go after staff.
I have a comment. This is Commissioner Lott. Colbert, I appreciate your thoughts, but I feel like your tone was kind of like reprimand, and I'd like to know, who were you trying to reprimand?
Okay, we're not going to do that either.
No, because you let him give his whole spiel, so I'm asking him a question, and it's not an argument, it's a question.
I understand, but we have another resident public who wants to make a comment. And,
Okay.
we need to give them.
We should speak to each other properly and not try to reprimand any one of us. We're not doing that.
I don't mind responding.
Sure, please do.
If that was the tone that it took, that wasn't necessarily the intent. It was my perspective of viewing the entirety of the remainder of the meeting afterward. It was a conversation about the entirety of the conversation. I wouldn't say that I was reprimanding anybody. I think that we're all peers here, on this board, and we should be respectful of one another. And that was the message I was trying to relay. It wasn't a reprimand. It wasn't an admonishment of any type.
Thank you.
We can give the public their chance to speak.
Joe or Clay, Old Marlboro Pike. I wanted to mention that National Night Out seems to have varied how many people are there. Sometimes it's completely packed, and I suspect that last year with the pandemic, it was just not as busy. I think heat also plays a big factor, because some days it is sweltering the first week of August. I also accidentally, I lost connection, and so had wanted to ask about the events policy. I didn't realize it was getting merged in with the other stuff after that, so I thought I had missed the opportunity. There was mention of you have to have rain dates for events, because for some events, rain dates make it harder to plan, because not all of your vendors can come the week after. So thank you.
Okay. We're gonna let the next public comment come through.
Hello, Monica Williams from Marlboro Town. So just wanted to just basically relay that myself and a lot of the residents are not fans of the tobacco leaf having any kind of representation in the rebranding. We understand it's part of the history of the town, and it will be included and it can be discussed, but I think it needs to be discussed on the back burner. And also I wanted to encourage the board to continue to, stay focused, especially for annexation, and to I guess, not be bullied by a minority in the town, the same minority that has basically held the town back and not been interested in moving forward. Just wanted to basically encourage you all to continue to stay the course when it comes to that. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
I'm just gonna.
Not a problem, guys. I mean, honestly, and just to add, you know, some of the bullies in the town are really not in a position to be, you know, I won't go into detail, but are just not in a position to be bullies.
Okay.
I'll leave it at
So-
that. You
so
know,
I
these
just-
are like ID channel kind of people. But
anyway,
but just
so-
stay focused.
Okay, so
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna provide just some cut and updates. Just, so Patty, I put out a quarterly update. It's on the website. It addresses a lot of things that you asked about. I'll be doing that every quarter. If there's something on there that you're looking for, if something not on there that you're looking for, just pop it in the virtual suggestion box so it gets put with my list and I don't lose it. The town hall, we are looking at blended meetings. We talked about that last time or the time before, so that's going on
Last
track.
time.
And then
Last meeting.
events policies, Joe, just if the group doesn't want to have a rain date, like Happy Leaf isn't gonna have a rain date, it's gonna say rain or shine, and that means there will be no rain date. All right, I think I answered most questions. Red light cameras are out, or not red light cameras, but speed cameras are out. So make sure you're driving safe. To kind of just review the two items that we had kind of already agreed to talk about for our next meeting were the clump of financial policies, which is the financial policies, procurement ordinance, and like the charter changes that they all need to happen together to make them go. We've moved the economic development firms to the August work session as well. We have HR concerns that are coming up at the August work session. And then we also talked about discussing the citations at the August work session. We had kind of said we would talk about the vacant property and agricultural tax at the work session. So we'll probably add that in. That should be pretty brief, or keep that in, not remove it. And then our town clerk has requested that we look at modernizing the way we do our minutes in reflection of Open Meetings Act modernization. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items for the August work session. I read them really fast. Is there anything anyone wants to take off, add on, etc.? Okay. John, I will type that up for you because I talked so fast. So you can send it out tomorrow morning.
Very good. We'll get ready.
All right, if that's all done and no one has anything else.
Mayor, I do have something else.
Okay.
So I just want to let the Board of Commissioners know, the mayor already knows, and I'd like to let the residents know. Normally, I would probably talk about this next month for something that happened this month, but I don't want to wait until the end of next month. So our very own Corporal Joseph Brooks, along with some sheriff's deputies, were summoned. They were over on Judges Drive. They were summoned by a gentleman who said that his father was not breathing. So Corporal Brooks and one of the sheriff's deputies went over and determined that the man had basically died in his car. So they immediately pulled this gentleman out, performed CPR with the assistance of several other deputies. This man was able to be revived. He was taken to the hospital, and that is a life-saving award that he will be getting. So that is something positive that we can talk about. The reason why I'm bringing it up now, because I didn't want to talk about it a whole month and a half later, but he is being put in, as well as the deputies, for a life-saving award, because if it weren't for their quick actions and doing the chest compressions and the breaths, and they actually had to use the AED on this gentleman twice, that gentleman probably would not be alive today. So I wanted to let the board know and the residents know that the officers that are here are doing professional work. They're doing what we've asked them to do. And, you know, I know sometimes that I'm questioned or asked about what our schedules are and things of that nature, but we are actively looking for people. And I also want to let you guys know that last month, our officers who were here doing their job recovered this. Okay, this was recovered in the town of Upper Marlboro. Okay, so I want people to know that our officers are out here doing their work, they're doing their jobs. And that's why I have 2 officers on patrol, because it is officer safety. What most of you all wouldn't know, that this individual was trying to get to this weapon while these officers were doing this traffic citation. Later, we found out that this individual had committed an attempt murder several years ago. So I just want residents to know that our officers are doing their job. They're acting professional. They're doing what they're supposed to do. And that's why the body camera is a part of this program. And so we will be moving towards doing other things, having officers in the evenings and on the weekends and all that other stuff. But for officer safety reasons, we're moving forward. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for your team. This is Commissioner Hanchett. I just want to commend you. Thank you.
Second, I want to commend them for, doing a great job. They're great officers anyway, but just extraordinary work. And to actually bring someone back to life. I mean, people, these are all the things that they're trained to do, of course, but it's just incredible. I'm sure the family is just happy, of course. I don't know, but I would think so. It's just great. And the weapon that was confiscated, I've never seen anything like it in the town of Marlboro. That the fact that you all was able to recover that during a traffic stop and probably make sure that person was going to be brought to justice. That's huge. Kudos goes out to the whole police department. Tell them Commissioner Duckett said thank you.
Yeah, I didn't want
I will
to
do.
steal Chief's thunder in announcing that really great news. But I think this board should consider, we can't give an award like the life-saving award, but I think we should recognize Corporal Brooks for his actions. So we can
Yes.
talk about it later.
Absolutely.
Extraordinary job.
Claps.
Yeah, claps, and we'll do something.
Extraordinary
official.
job, Chief. Kudos. I take my hat off to your team.
Well, I
Alright.
believe they have an internal reward program in the police department for
Yeah.
stuff like this. So
Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn?
I would like to just say that was a way to
Okay.
end the meeting. So thank you.
That was a way to.
That was.
That's why I waited till the
upnote.
end.
That was a great up note. I so appreciate it. I'm like, wow. Okay, so great.
Yeah.
So moved.
I so moved.
Okay, we're just gonna do all, and do we have to
Third,
vote it,
fourth.
John? Do you have to call it?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, call it.
Commissioner Colbert,
Aye.
Commissioner Duckett,
Hi.
President Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
Aye. Good night. To
Good
all,
night, all.
and good night.